The first guest I want, it's not really a guest. We're going to call each other podcasters, I think. And I am so excited to introduce my next podcasting student. It's so funny to call this man a student, since after all, he's really a mentor of mine. It's been a deep honor to walk with Alex Jackl during this ride. Alex is someone that some of you might know. And if you don't, you're about to learn a lot about what makes this man tick. When I first spoke with Alex before the class started, he wasn't sure how podcasting would work with him. And now I can't wait to show you where he is with all of this. Alex Jackl, welcome to the True Voice Podcast Summit. It is so great to be with you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Fred. I really appreciate it. And today I want to talk about truth and what having a true voice might mean. But let me introduce myself. My name is Alex Jackl, as Dr. Fred said. I'm a father of 3 and a husband to 1 and friend to many. I studied physics and archaeology in college and then worked as a technical communicator and then trained myself to lead ontological and experiential conversations supporting people and who they are and who they be, and then ended up getting sucked into the world of education data. I also became very active in politics and various causes, all inside of my commitment to discovering the nature of the world and the nature of what is true. I now own a small education data architecture company and love to design systems that let people do the right thing appropriately and securely with accurate information at their disposal. As a champion of truth and actionable information, I have a podcast called Facts and Other Imaginary Things. So let me say a little bit about that. First off, what I'm about to say and am saying is not a universal truth. It is true for me and from my context and from my point of view. In fact, I would assert that it is all we have, and anyone who argues otherwise is probably trying to sell you something. Now, some would argue that there are absolutes, facts that can be measured and observed and captured. And as a physicist, I agree. Others would argue, though, that everything is relative and we could be brains floating in jars or in the matrix or some other such thing, right? That everyone's experience is unique. And it is a miracle that we can agree on the color of the sky, never mind how we should run a government. I say that through communication, we can agree on basic facts and then use some rigor and thoughtfulness to paint a truth that most of us can agree on. That is easier with the color of the sky and whether the earth is round, but harder with whether racism is systemic in our culture or the nature of God. Some things that are true and should not be controversial, like human-caused climate change, become questioned because of self-interested parties and the levers of influence. So how does that apply to this conversation? Any of those topics could be a whole series of podcasts.
Thank you.
But this summit is about people finding our true voice. And in my mind, there are several components to that. 1, it is ours. It is not explaining someone else's point of view or speaking in complete theoreticals. It is our beliefs. Now, you may speak about someone else's point of view in your podcast or talk about abstractions, but it's all in furtherance of expressing your authentic and personal truth. Now, there's a corollary to that, which some people find difficult, which is honoring other people's truths. It doesn't mean you need to believe lies or accept sloppy or inaccurate thinking, but you want to honor that other people have different truths than we do, than you do. And they're not bad or wrong, but different. And the degree to which I believe, the degree to which we can honor that is the fastest path to our being able to have our true voice heard and to be able to hear others' true voices. The second thing is, it is truth. Sometimes we're so anxious to justify our beliefs or support our stance that we'll say and support things that are not consistent with who we are and what we believe. Or we'll tell white lies or use deceptive or coercive debating tactics to win arguments with people, To express your true voice, I believe, requires a certain honesty and self-reflection and a willingness to question what we believe to be true. Anything else is duplicitous. And it's hard. I'm someone who, I pride myself that I'm a person who's grounded in facts. I look at things, I analyze them, I pull things apart to make sure I'm really understanding what I'm saying and that I'm not giving bad references or false information. But I find myself irritated, fighting people, disagreeing with people because they disagree with me. And then I have an arrogance that I think, well, I've thought this all through. And since they disagree with me, obviously they're idiots, right? Or they're wrong. And I find myself struggling even to apply my own medicine to myself, to then go, wait, there's some truth that they're trying to speak, and I need to listen to it. And so in that sense, that aspect of truth means we have to listen truth as much as speak it. And that can also be very challenging. The third part of our true voice is voice. If no one hears you, I think Dr. Fred just said this in his opening, what he said in the opening. If no one hears you, then no one knows what you stand for or what you have to express. It's not automatic. Sometimes we have a feeling or a belief or a truth we hold to be true, but we don't tell people, but because we think it's rude or we don't want to impose our opinion or anything, whatever the various things are, right? And so whatever that is, and I invite you to consider that it's not obvious, that people see you through the lens of their truth, and if you don't speak yours, they don't know that it's there. And it's only through the speaking of it. Whether, by the way, that truth is a serious topic like the future of our nation, or merely something hilarious that you're sharing, or your cherry pie recipe, your excellent cherry pie recipe, it doesn't matter. In this arena, no truth is better than another. You don't have to save the whales. Now, I'm a big fan of saving the whales, and you'll hear, if you listen to my podcast, you'll hear me talk about facts and information on some of those topics, social justice topics and things like that. But a cherry pie recipe can be just as impactful if that's what you're sharing, if that's what builds community, if that's what has you connect to what you love and what other people love. So the power comes from giving your voice to the world and having that be authentic and an expression of yourself, the self you know yourself to be, or the self that you're standing and creating for yourself to be. Because sometimes we aren't who we want to be. And we can create ourselves as that through this. That's why I am exploring this. That's why I became a podcaster. That's why I joined Dr. Fred, right? And the True Voice class. It was to find a way to give voice to what I wanted to say in a new model that I had never done before. Now, I hate my truth. I hate, and I use hate carefully. I understand that's a strong word. I hate unfairness and hypocrisy. When I say I am a champion of truth, I'm speaking about people being able to have their voices heard and that voice be respected. But it has another side to it. When people misuse their voice and lie and spin and twist what even they know to be true to further their ambitions or greed, that is, I believe, one of the greatest crimes. Just as Dr. Fred said, I think one of the greatest issues in this world is having people be able to have their true voice. And so often that voice is suppressed and twisted and downplayed because of ambition or greed or agenda, whatever the agenda might be. And I believe, this is my personal belief, that knowledge of how to pull apart assertions and declarations and rigorously discuss them and look at what the facts are, what is a fact, and all of those conversations is the source of being able to prevent those inauthentic voices from drowning out the true ones. And that requires us to stand up when we hear falsehood spoken and stand up when there's inauthenticity. And that takes courage. And I know many of us fear speaking our true voice because it might be mocked or argued with or dismissed or simply not heard. And I say, and I think Dr. Fred would agree with me, that one thing this summit is about is us honoring everyone's authentic and true voice.
Mm-hmm.
And I exhort you all to honor everyone who speaks today and yourselves. Give your true voice a loud and far-reaching platform and listen for the gems and the truth in everyone who speaks this weekend and, frankly, everyone you listen to in your life, every moment that you hear voice. So I'm about to close up. I think I went a little bit faster than I intended, Dr. Fred, but I think that's probably fine. But while I'm closing up, I do invite you, if you have a true voice, if you have a truth you want to speak up right now, you can start putting it in the chat. I would love to see your true voice. What is it you're committed to? What are you excited about? What is it you want to give voice to? And you're going to hear 24 other people and more speak that over the next few days. But I do want to say, I want to thank Dr. Fred and the True Voice team for helping me sharpen my true voice. I sometimes am arrogant and I think I know a lot. And I do know a lot, but I think I know more sometimes than I really do. And I appreciate so much the authenticity and the truth and the honor and the respect that I felt in the course we took together. And I'm really excited to be here at this summit. I'm excited to hear what other people have to say. And I'm really thankful for this opportunity and the opportunity for my podcast to reach out in the world with my message. So with that being said, Dr. Fred, I think I'm complete, and I'll turn it back over to you.
Sure. Thank you. And hang on for just a moment.
Sure.
So I want to again get what's the name of your podcast?
Facts and Other Imaginary Things.
Facts and Other Imaginary Things. So this is not something you had in place when you started the course, but we really walked you through this idea. And now, I mean, what a brilliant way to start us off, by the way, Alex. I mean, really so thought-provoking. Thank you so much for bringing your true voice forward and what it means for you to be a source for other people to bring true voice forward. As a powerful player in the world of, or like speaking to others, what kind of suggestion would you give to people who are, afraid or hiding or too busy or something like that to actually speak their true voice? What should they do today?
Well, I think one thing is, one of my fears when I started this conversation about podcasting is I didn't know about podcasting. And so I didn't even, at first, I wasn't even going to put my toes in that world. I remember. Because I was like, is this really for me? Do I want to put the effort into it? Is it worth it? Right? That kind of conversations in my head. And I think having conversations with the people around you, don't think you have to become like the keynote speaker at a national conference on your first day, the first way to give voice. No, if you could turn to your partner and say, you know what? I'm really committed to X. Or, if you have a book group, right? If you say, you know what, you guys, let's read this book next week because I'm committed to X, Y, and Z. So I think the first thing I'd say is start small, start inside the community you already have. And then as you gain confidence,
exactly,
you can start to get that you're talking to yourself anyways. And, there are people out there like you, and you can gradually increase the scope, the size of the audience you are speaking to. And so that's what I would say.
That's beautiful. And I think another thing that you pointed to, I'd love to hear your opinion about this, is this idea of being inauthentic or of hiding or of speaking an untruth isn't very effective protection anyways. as it turns out, if you're going to have to make up stories, facts, and other imaginary things anyways, you might as well pick closer to your own truth so you don't have to recall what it is you said in the first place.
Yes, absolutely. Because it gets circular, right? You start to build lies that you have to then tell lies about the lies that you told. And
I think we know that. Yeah.
And one thing to be careful of, though, is lying to yourself is it's very easy, and it's very hard to pick out. Because I'm not talking about lies, because very few people are sociopaths, right? Very few people are just like straight up, you know what? I'm going to lie to this person so he walks into the crosswalk and gets hit by a car, right? Yeah. People don't do that in general. There are people like that, but in general, people aren't like that, right? In general, you fool yourself over time. So digging out where you're being inauthentic or digging out where you're lying to yourself is, I think, quite tricky. It takes a little bit of, you have to really look and say, wait a minute, why am I upset about this? Is it because I'm embarrassed or because I actually believe what I'm saying? Or, you know, you have to sort of play around with it a little bit and have it be okay. Have it not be like, oh my God, I'm a bad person if I lied, because then you're left with no option but to defend yourself. And the minute you're in the trap of defending whatever you believe, you're not listening anymore to other people's true voice, and your true voice actually gets diminished because it's all lost in the noise of the battle of keeping your identity intact and keeping your pride intact, keeping whatever it is that's holding that all up.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Alex, that is just brilliant. And thanks for bringing in listening is such a key piece of this. We're going to, of course, brush up against that many times over the weekend, because without listening, true voice speaking doesn't really make any difference either. And creating the space through listening for true voice is really where some of this magic comes from. So, Alex, thank you again for being a student. Thank you for becoming such a wonderful podcaster. Thank you for being my friend and my bud. And it's really great to have started off this summit with you on the first rung. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Fred.
A pleasure. Yay. Yay.